Chased through Satansville by a possible cult member. In Pennsylvania, right near the border into Delaware, there is a narrow, eerie place with deformed trees, closed off paths, and lots of legends. It is formerly known as Devil's Road, the main attraction in a place called Satansville, which accompanies the whole of dark twists, isolated roads, and unsettling encounters. It was written about in the book Weird Pennsylvania, which highlights the creepy places of the state. According to many rumors, there's a cult house hidden in the woods surrounding the road, and any trespassers on the road, especially those who stop, will be chased out with a black or white SUV or truck. For years, I had read about the place and heard spine-chilling stories until I couldn't stop thinking about seeing it for myself. My friend Matt and I spent almost every Friday night at the mall together, as teenagers do. As expected, it can get pretty boring pretty fast, especially with no money to actually have a motive to shop around for anything other than disappointment. Visiting Satansville without telling our parents became another weekly tradition of sorts, after he told me about his experience a month before our first visit. He had told me that when he visited with his guy friends, his phone service completely cut out, leaving them without Google Maps in a potentially dangerous, unclear area that was already scarcely mapped. Soon after he told me, a black truck came off a dirt road and followed closely behind them until they found the main road. It wasn't much, but it was enough for me to be hooked. Not too much happened on our first few trips. We would see other cars rarely, as it's a hidden road that is no longer marked due to excessive theft of the street sign. Occasionally, the cars would be black in color, and we would get a rush of adrenaline. It was fun, but not exactly terrifying until one night. We finished up at the mall around 6, and we left within enough time to circle around once or twice with daylight, and the remainder of the time in the darkness. It was about a 40-minute drive to Satansville from the mall, and I was tingling with excitement. According to the legends, cars that visit frequently are more likely to have experiences at this place, and this would be our third time visiting in the last few weeks. Instead of Matt and I going alone this time, we brought our friend Lola, who was very outgoing and would likely have a sense of humor in a situation we'd be too scared to continue in normally. We drove down the highway and finally made the first turn leading into seclusion. Matt and I had pinpointed several areas where we thought the cult house may be, but stopping on the road is illegal, so we never had a real chance to explore, at least. That's the logical reason I gave in lieu of us being major cowards. The ambience immediately changed as we entered Satansville, and the cool night air fled in through the cracked window. In the first few turns, other people aren't entirely a rare sight, a few trucks pulling out of driveways, the like. However, the turn onto Devil's Road never loses its wow factor. The tree on both sides of the narrow road lean away from the forest aggressively, not just a tilt, but completely bending in the trunk away from things we could only imagine. We were approaching the first major bend in the road, and a car was coming up towards us. It was a tight squeeze, nearly impossible for two opposing vehicles to pass. The presence of a car alone was enough to cause a twinge in my gut. Matt was focused on squeezing while turning, and Lola was too busy cracking jokes to see what I saw, but I've never forgotten the face since then. I looked over to the white Jeep to my left, and the window was incredibly tinted, but half down, looking back at me straight into my eyes, like he'd been looking at me long before I looked at him, was a young man, maybe about 25 years old or so, with long blonde hair, a deathly pale face, and horribly thin fingers on the steering wheel. He was not at all focused on driving, as his eyes pierced me, and this is the worst part of it all. His neck was turned completely towards me, while the rest of his body was completely straight forward. This may not sound creepy, but it was not normal to bend that way like that. He said something, but I couldn't hear him over Lola and Matt laughing at her antics. I couldn't break his gaze. I was stuck staring at him until finally, Matt passed the bend and he was gone. I kept checking the rearview mirrors, terrified with a feeling I'd never felt before, when I could no longer see the Jeep, though it felt as though he could still see me. I quietly asked my friends if they had seen him. Neither of them had looked at him or felt anything unusual. I was pretty unsettled, yet excited to see what else would happen. We turned off Devil's Road, but we were still in Satansville, preparing to loop back around when we passed a little shack that always housed 2 black trucks. There was no sign of any other drivers there, and we wanted to stir the pot a little. We stopped for a few moments and honked the horn, flashed our blinkers, then kept driving. We had blasted Old Town Road, but for some reason, because that was our peak comedy at the time, we looped back around and we were back on Devil's Road when Matt stopped mid-sentence to adjust his mirror. In the darkening distance was a black truck. We giggled with nervous excitement and kept on driving. It was exciting, but it kept a reasonable distance, and I think we all kind of assumed it was just a coincidence. That is, until we turned off Devil's Road once more and saw that there were no trucks parked by the shack anymore. We lost the truck when we turned onto the main road to circle back around again. We circled around 2 more times, nervous but skeptical, and not much happened other than an ass-riding white SUV that kept blinking its headlights. Not gonna lie, that freaked us out, and the return of 1 truck to the shack. This is where it gets really, really intense. On our 5th loop, we were all very tense. The aura had changed, and it was completely dark at this point. Things had started to feel more ominous, probably from the slightly less passive actions taken towards us by whoever was there. We went down the bends, peering nervously into the woods. Some trees were marked with 666s and upside-down crosses, marks of more other ballsy teenagers, and there was a distant light in the woods, courtesy of God knows what. And we turned off Devil's Road, but still in the heart of Satansville. Headlights appeared behind us. It was impossible to tell what kind of car that it was, as it was pitch black outside, and we just turned the first major bend moments later. The truck appeared behind us, speeding. We were going about 25, and the truck must have floored it up to catch, and it was driving uncomfortably close to us. I was the one to see it first. It was a black truck, windows tinted and driver unknown. We drove on for a minute, freaking out and turning completely behind us like a creepy Jeep guy, but more normal. Soon as a second truck joined behind it at a fork on the road, and they revved their engines as if it was a communication. The truck sped up, nearly crashing into us, and we were forced to speed up as well. This continued through many intense twists and turns where our speed reached up to 70 at the maximum. They flashed their lights, kept speeding up and getting closer. At this point, we were losing our shit. They were definitely either going to run us off the road or catch us and do God knows what to us. They had these weird red lights on the top of their trucks, and the light was reflecting off every single window in our tiny Honda. Just above a small hill, the main road was visible, and the relief flooded us. We panicked again, though, when we realized we would have to wait for traffic to slow down before we could turn once again, and they would definitely catch us. With nothing else to do, we stopped and glanced behind us. The trucks were gone. We had expected a sudden ambush, but made the turn onto the highway and started home, talking about what the heck had just happened there. We came to the conclusion that the trucks had probably turned onto a dirt road, only visible to those who know it's there, and that they were chasing us away from their activities like the rumors had said. What were they doing exactly? We have no idea, and have no intention of finding out, and we haven't been back since. I still can't get the face and the presence of the man in the Jeep out of my head, and this was over a year ago now. So, creepy Jeep guy and potential cult leaders, let's not meet. The cult at Target. This incident just occurred a few hours ago, and it's still making my head spin. Forgive me if it seems lengthy, but an awful lot was said. My mother, sister, and I, female and 18 years old, were shopping in our local Target. As we strolled down around, I recognized a girl named Stacy, also 18, that I used to go to school with. For reference, I dropped out of high school my senior year, and I haven't been in my old high school or seen anyone from there for about a year now. I simply glance at her and keep on moving, doubting that she recognized me because I haven't been in school for a year. A few minutes later, I am on the complete opposite side of the store when I see this girl again. Like last time, our eyes awkwardly met and I tried to just walk past her, but this time she actually said something. "Hey, didn't we play tennis together?" Stacy spoke with wide eyes and a painfully large smile. There was a girl standing next to her, but I didn't recognize her. I simply replied yes in response. I was never friends with her in school. In fact, I never talked to her or even liked her. That's when she introduced herself as if I completely forgot who in the world she was. She goes on to question if I still went to high school, in which I explained that I graduated early with online classes and the like. The conversation started out normal, I guess. I thought it was simply us catching up, due to the fact that I had been absent from school for a year. I kept wanting to cut off the conversation short, but Stacy kept prodding about what I was doing now. Am I in college? What was college like? Harmless questions, I guess. In fact, I didn't mind answering her questions. Then the conversation took an unexpected twist. Stacy somehow weaseled the conversation into one about God and Christianity. Now, for reference, I do consider myself a Christian, but not one of those hardcore ones who are constantly spewing Bible quotes at strangers like that. She asked if I attend church, to which I responded with yes. Her eyes became even wider and her smile even bigger. Her whole mantra of God sounded like this. Back in high school days, I was always partying and being so happy, but that was all fake, and no one knew that I was actually pretty sad. That's when I found this church that showed me God's way and his undying love. He accepted me, and he'll accept you too. Now I'm always happy, for I have God on my side, and at this church, God truly appears before your very eyes. He cured me of all my physical and mental ailments, like when I messed up my knee in tennis. The whole time Stacy spoke, there was like this robotic tone about it, as if these words were memorized, practiced, rehearsed. There was almost no genuine emotion in her wide eyes, and a never-failing smile. Then her friend, Ashley, late teens or early 20s, I guess, began her speech. Keep in mind, my mother and sister are just an aisle away waiting on me. Ashley's speech went on like this. For a while in life, I suffered with depression and suicide. I was always faking to be happy until I found this church. This church truly opened my eyes and heart. I no longer feel dead inside. This is when she hinted that maybe I feel dead inside too, and that the only way to recover from this is to look to God. Ashley then used the word zombie to describe the dead feeling, and that's when I began to really think that there is something wrong with these girls. Ashley continued on saying, I don't think it's a mere coincidence that we ran into you today. God led me to you. He wanted me to reveal to you the way. God put a vision in my mind of you opening a present, and that present is our Lord and Savior. She kept on ranting about how this was destiny that we met, and that God put Stacy and Ashley in my path to reveal himself to me. When Ashley mentioned depression and suicide, I could not help but believe her for a split second. I had been struggling with depression for years but kept it quiet, and with me being a believer of God, I was almost fooled into thinking that this is a sign from God telling me to finally open up and get help. But when Ashley began to ramble about her church, that foolish hope I had dissipated quickly. Then the two moved the conversation onto their church. They kept stating that this was not a normal church, and that God himself in flesh and blood came to them at the church. They informed me that God came to them to heal them of misery and grief. Ashley then pulled out a business card which had the church's email, a Bible quote, and her personal phone number. Before the anticipated departure, they kept saying how cool I am and that they were glad they met me. Then we finally parted ways. I remember my legs being extremely weak when I walked away. That's when in mind it clicked. Are they a part of some cult? Their mannerisms and behavior seem too scripted to be real. That's when my sister found me and answered my suspicions. Apparently, before I had to endure that 10-minute chat with Stacy and Ashley, my sister overheard the girls were having the same conversation with another girl on the opposite side of the store. So this was all scripted, and it was their way of luring and persuading strangers to join their church. I realize now how they do it too, to reel me in with their discussions, then discuss about my absence from school and experiences in college. To reel in the other girl they talked with, they started to compliment her outfit and inquiring about her artistic hobbies. I wondered how many people they ended up talking to and if they were just walking around the store, hoping to find easy targets to talk to. Have so many questions, and that's what bothers me about the most, and about these religious things and people that I have, and how God unnerved me. It is sort of humorous to think of now, simply because I think crazy God lovers are comical, but I'm still bewildered. If you have any information about the cults operating and how they coax people into joining them, please do let me know. Does this incident sound like cult members trying to spread their messages, or harmless teenage girls simply spreading the love of God? If you have any questions about what my occurrence is, please ask. Also, if it's possible, I will see Stacy again, because she is attending my college next semester. Although Stacy and Ashley seem harmless and just overly excited about God, I honestly hope that we never meet again. I live below a cult leader and I feared I've angered her. I, female, 28 years old, have lived in the same apartment for 4 years. My neighbors in the unit above me are a couple in their 30s and have lived there for about 3 years now, with no issues between us at all. Now, during the past 6 months, I've noticed some changes in their behaviors. At first, it was just a few days per week. I'd hear music with heavy bass accompanied by rhythmic jumping. I assume they bought an exercise bike or something like that. But sometimes the jumping gets so intense that it shakes my overhead light fixtures. The jumping routine had been escalating to the point that it takes place every single day, normally between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. I also noticed that they kept on calling 1-800-JUNK and got rid of a lot of nice possessions. However, I figured none of this was my business anyway, so I kept my observations to myself. Now, about 3 weeks ago, everything escalated. Multiple times per week, on weekdays and during working hours, it sounds like they're hosting a mini Burning Man event in their apartment. The music is so loud and so clear that it sounds as if I'm at a concert while sitting inside of my own living room. There's clearly a lot of people involved, because the jumping and stopping shakes multiple light fixtures and cabinets. The music is a mix of new age and spiritual vibes, dance beats, and a male voiceover giving weird instructions like rebrand yourself, surrender yourself, stomp in response. I've taken recording audios on my phone and one video from the hallway during these events. I still didn't complain to the building, but I wanted evidence in case it became too much of a regular thing. So this week, I've encountered a big problem. The couple above me has a private patio, which is directly above my bedroom. I came home from a 3-day trip out of town yesterday, and my ceiling is legitimately collapsing in one corner. Big chunks of plaster had fallen to the ground, and I even saw a little water. I immediately called my superintendent, since I didn't want to be buried alive by ceiling rubble if it gives out. When he came to check it out, he was shocked and pissed. He said that the woman in the couple appears to be working with some people, doing workshops or something like that. He can see their patio from his apartment window and has watched the group do these jumping and dancing dirt rituals out there on a weekly basis. He said that they all dance and jump to the music and then spread dirt along with something else, he doesn't even know what the heck it is, across the patio on a weekly basis. He believes that the dirt and unknown substance combo is getting through the wooden cracks, absorbing water and weighing down on my ceiling. In order to fix the problem, my super said he had to go talk to the woman, check out their patio, and ultimately hire a contractor to pull up the wood to scrape out whatever the heck is causing my ceiling to fall like that. I could hear them talking from my bedroom, and the woman sounded distraught and defensive. When my super left, he called me and warned me that she might try to come down to my apartment and demand to see the damage on my ceiling, but don't let her in. This was a little concerning to me. Is she a threat? I mean, the damage is real. I wouldn't mind showing her myself. She started playing music again, relatively loud, kind of like a warning shot. I mentioned the music jumping to the super and said I had audio recordings. He started begging me to send the evidence to the front office. It sounds like he wants them evicted. I said, okay, sure. I mean, I hate to be a rat, but I have to choose sides. I'm siding with the building people. He called me twice more that afternoon to confirm that I shared my evidence, and I said yes. Shortly after everything went down, I left my apartment to run an errand. The woman was just outside standing on the sidewalk and stared at me the whole time as I walked by. I ignored her. This isn't my fault. Now, today, I went to run another quick errand in the neighborhood. When I returned, the couple was again standing on the sidewalk. Both of them this time followed me into the building and then waited until I was opening my apartment door to confront me. They were both wearing creepy fake smiles. The woman has horse-girled hair down to her waist and started interrogating me. They asked, "Is your ceiling really collapsing? When did it start? Do you think it was related to the recent rainfall? Because our patio is just fine." I was just a little uncomfortable. Were they waiting for me outside? How did they know if I even left the building? Why were they both just standing there? I've literally never even seen them together in their 3 years of living there. I have nothing to hide, so I confirmed the damage is pretty bad. I just don't want it to all fall during the winter time. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but hopefully the work will be done quickly for everyone's sake. They seem satisfied enough, so I said a good day and shut my door. I get the sense that they're nervous about what the contractors will find when they tear down their patio. What the heck is up with the dirt rituals? Who are these people that she's working with? I don't know what they look like or why they're available to stomp around on weekdays. The repair work has started on both sides, but the contractors will come on Wednesday for the grand reveal of what's under the patio that's making my ceiling collapse like that. Now, in the meantime, I feel like I need to be alert and keep my eyes out for these people as well as the couple. It's unusual for me to see them in general, especially twice in 2 days. They seem scared and in denial of the problem. They also literally ambushed me. Hopefully it's over soon.